Welcome back to WD Magiccast for the week of April 27th, 2025. WD Magiccast, this show about the mouse, the marvels, the galaxy, and beyond, and so much more. I'm your host, Matthew Gregan, and right next to me is Captain David Goldman, fresh back from the high adventures of the high seas. And we're going to skip over the news because there isn't too much at the moment besides some of the stuff out of Star Wars Celebration, which is big news for May the 4th. So we'll do a May the 4th episode at some point. But in the meantime, we want to discuss Dave's adventures again on the high seas. First off, what ship, Dave?
Royal Caribbean's Odyssey of the Seas.
Okay, what can you tell us about Odyssey of the Seas?
It's a very lovely ship. This is the fourth Royal Caribbean ship I've been on. We've been on, some of the Oasis class ships together. Or at separate times. The Wonder
One
we didn't
on
go on
separate
together.
times, the rest of the times, yeah.
Right, yeah. Oasis and Symphony we were on together. Wonder separate times. But this one for me, when we've discussed this before. It was like the size of the ship, because the Oasis class is a larger ship, not the largest, but one of the larger ships in the fleet. So downsizing a little bit, we were like, how cramped are we going to be? How actually small is it? So how
panicked are you to get to the shows and
right
space?
Right, because we'll get into it, but like they run them differently, the shows and stuff, but pleasantly surprised when we got, when you drive up, you get all excited, you see the size of the ship, you're like, all right, we might be good. And then you go through security and stuff, you get on, and you're like, my first impression was, what's it, like a 4-year-old ship? It's not that old.
No, she launched November 2020. She's a pandemic ship.
Yeah. So 4 or 5-year-old ship, beautiful ship. I was pleasantly surprised, just getting the first layout, because when you first get on a ship, it's, how it is. You go on, you get the lay of the land. You can't get to your cabins till like 1, 2 o'clock anyway, until they make that announcement. So you got time to explore. And yeah, very nice ship. Everything's laid out beautifully in the promenade and everything. When you get up, you go up to the outside deck where there's no water slides, where the pools are and everything like that. That's for me, like that's when I'm on vacation, when I get up on that top deck and you're just exploring the top, looking at the, because we went out of Bayonne. So you look, see the New York skyline, the Statue of Liberty and stuff. Very impressed by it, so it usually takes about if you're not familiar with a ship, depending on the size of it, it can take you a good 2-3 days before you're like, okay, now I know where things are. Like when we went on the Symphony, it was kind of like, boom, we knew where everything was, because it's laid out just like the Wonder basically and Oasis. But this one didn't take long. You had your 2 main rooms, the main theater on one side, the 270 room on the other. And most nights you find yourself going from one to the other, but it didn't seem like a hike. So it was a very nice ship. I would definitely cruise on. Depending on where it goes, I would cruise on this again, or one of its sister ships or so.
Now, some of the ships are small. This is a Quantum class ship for Royal Caribbean. It is actually a Quantum Plus, so it is slightly larger than the first 3 ships in the series, I think. There are, and this is the last of, I believe, the Quantum class. So she's a little bit bigger and slightly different tweaks. As the class gets built and designed more, more and more things. They tweak this or they tweak that, or plus this and plus that. She's a little bit bigger, which you'll notice, especially in the C-Plex.
Yes.
We were talking at one point about that. I said, okay, you don't have this on the other ones. But it seems like a very nice design. I haven't been on a Quantum class ship. I've been on most of the other ones. There's only 2 classes of ships that Royal Caribbean has, 3 now, that I haven't been on. Right? So I haven't been on an Icon, I haven't been on a Vision class, and I haven't been on a Quantum class. I've done Radiance, I've done Voyager, I've done Oasis, and I did the Sovereign class before they retired all those. So,
out of all the classes you've done, though, which is your preferred or which is your favorite class of ship? You don't have to give me like a ship, but
I mean the Monarch holds a special place in my heart because it's the first cruise ship I was on, and there's certain things on that ship that I've never seen them duplicate since. Oh, I've also been on Freedom. I forgot about the Freedom class. I really love the Radiance. Kind of like the Quantum class, or it's a narrower ship and longer with a lot of window space. Which that was done intentionally. So when you do things like Panama Canal or Alaska, you have a lot of, you can look out and see everything, all the beauty of the nature around you, which is more of what those itineraries are about than versus say, where you go into the Caribbean, it's like, okay, you're not, it's not the same visual aspects. That's okay. Let's go to this beach or that beach in this town. Cruising Alaska, there's points that you're not getting off the ship, but where the ship is piloting through, that's the stuff you want to see. Or even Hawaii. So yeah, there's a lot of window space on those ships. They actually have elevators that face out. So glass elevators that face out of the ship. It's a giant glass wall. So even going up and down the elevator, you can see what's going on. So the Radiance class I like. They're actually slightly larger Vision class style ship. With the solarium pools that you can actually open and close the ceiling on. So you can get outdoor venue, or you can close it to make it indoor and weather controlled. So again, when you're in Alaska where it's colder outside, you still have a pool you can use. Where Odyssey, when she's out there, do you have an indoor pool on that ship?
No, there was not an indoor pool. No, there was two outdoor pools on the main deck. Well, in the solarium, yes. I guess you can call those pools. You know what I mean? The little hot tubs and stuff like that in the solarium. There was a couple, but not like a full big blown pool, just the little tiny ones that you can hang out in. You know what I mean? But that's the adult area, obviously, and the kids aren't allowed in there. One of these years, I might actually be able to reap the benefits of the solarium, because it looks so like chill in there, and so like just like you can get your zen on and just relax.
It always looks so nice. I just never been able to enjoy it because there's always a little person attached to my head.
Exactly.
The Radiance class ships, I like that they're older now than when I went on. Other than that, I really loved the Odyssey class. The Odyssey.
The
Oasis class.
Gotcha.
Just because of the uniqueness of it, and it's a massive ship.
Yep.
And at times it does feel like that because you could wander and not feel like you're on a ship. But that's kind of the beauty of it, is that you can just wander around and you don't feel like you're trapped on a ship. You just feel like you have all this space.
Which is weird to say, because if you sit there and go, hey, there's going to be 8,000 people, including crew and everything like that, 8,000 to 10,000 people on a ship, you're thinking,
I'm going to be bumping into people left and right, and just nowhere to go. It's going to be crowded up the wazoo.
Yeah.
And you only experience that in the Windjammer.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's where everybody goes. And you might, like, when you get out of a theater, out of a show, you might witness some kind of like congestion, but that's only because everybody was in the theater, But the Windjammer, that's where you run. That's where you would run into a lot of flow of people.
But I mean, otherwise, I never felt like I was super crowded on those ships.
Nope. Not even on this one. The Odyssey. That's what I was afraid of too. That because of a smaller ship, yes, it's less people because it can't fit 8,000 to 10,000 on this one. But it's still a smaller ship, but a lot of people. So how crowded? The only time it felt crowded was when there was the balloon drop the one night. That was the only time I was elbow to elbow with the people. But once that event was over, everybody
all dispersed.
Dispersed and went about their business.
And you went to your bionic bar.
That's right. Floor 5.
Dave has a love relationship with the bionic bar.
Yep. Every time I'm on a ship that has it, I got to take a picture, got to get a million drinks from it.
Oh, there you go. One of the things I thought was interesting. So with the Voyager class ships, they introduced the concept of the Royal Promenade, which is a large, multi-story,
it's almost like a mall.
hallway.
Yeah,
I guess is one way to put it, down the center of the ship. On this ship, it's not the promenade, it's the esplanade, which I'm sure there's a technical reason why they're calling it something different.
Yeah.
But it's about 2 decks?
It's 2 decks, yeah.
Of an open area that runs down the center of the ship, where you got a lot of your specialty restaurants, the bionic bar. I think that's where your shops are.
Shops, yep. Sorrento's, the usuals.
Yeah.
What's that?
Your artwork.
Yeah, the artwork. Next cruise, your photo place, all that stuff's all in there. It's like a floating mall. You just walk, shop, eat, drink, whatever. It's all up and down there.
So yeah, that's kind of like the primary focus area of the ship. Trying to think. So that's the inside. There's no ice skating rink on this ship.
There's no ice skating rink. No. The 2 things that my wife said she missed was there's no aqua theater and there's no ice rink. Yeah. Now, for me, yeah, there's no aqua theater, but the 270 venue room is their aqua theater, if you want to call it that.
Well, it's their unique space. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That for me made up for because it was so unique for me. I've never seen anything like it. So for me, it was unique enough where it was like, wow, that's my aqua theater. I like this.
Please explain let's talk about the aqua theater. The aqua theater is a specific space that was designed on the Oasis class on the stern of the ship, back end of the ship, that they put on water shows for diving acts and stuff, diving, dancing, music, all sorts of tightrope, slackline, lots of fun stuff off of there. They moved that inside on the Icon class. It's over more towards the bow of the ship, on the upper level, with some drastic differences on what this performance area looks like. This is 270 is nothing like that.
No, nothing.
But it is, other than it is in the stern of the ship.
Yeah, it's in the back of the ship. Very cush seats, nice cushion, all different kinds of seats. So it may look like you can't fit that many people in here because it's not like the Royal Theater where there's all rows of those little tiny seats. Right. But there's balconies and stuff. So you can fit more people than you think that's in there. But anyway, it's on the back of the ship, so you can see at times when they have the curtains down, you can see the water. So if you're just in there chilling or whatever before a show, you get to see the water flowing and everything. You just relax. Now, when the shows are on, it's basically they pull up like I don't know how you explain them, like a movie theater curtain or something to go up. It covers the back windows. And then they have these 6 individual LED, I don't know how big they are, let's just say 42-inch screens that are connected to a robot arm. They'll be in a rectangle at one point. They'll have them together. But when they want to use them for the shows and have different pictures on each of those things, they'll be moving around. So you'll have the 6 screens just turning and twisting and going all over the place. It's wild. It's something to see when you're there. And the book is their main show. It was the only show on the Odyssey that we experienced that you had to have a reservation for. And I can see why, because that was their premiere show. And that show utilizes what the 270 is in the best aspect. That it's hard to explain. You got to like witness it, you know. And I don't. You can go on YouTube and watch it, but I don't suggest that because it's not the same. It's not the same as watching it on the ship and watching it go. So it's almost like I want to say it was similar to like a Cirque du Soleil kind of deal, but like in a smaller confined area. It was awesome. But that's what I'm saying. Like I like that room, but also in that room, we had the 70s dance party, the 80s dance party, the Crazy Quest. All these things can be done in that venue. It's a multitasking thing because the stages can raise and, you know, depending on what's in there, whatever game shows, they had Family Feud. So they'd have the two stages up so that one family's here, one family's here. And then they'd come down to the middle. So, or with the dance parties, everything would be low. They bring everything down so it's flat. So you have a bigger area for everybody to dance on so that you're not like really, you know, tied up with everybody. So that's what I'm saying. Like that room was awesome. The only thing I missed about the ice rink, to go back to that, would be they usually have one or two shows on the Oasis class ships, depending on which one you're on. That would be the only thing I missed. But on this one, you had 5 shows. You had a comedian one night, a band called Rookie. They were kind of like a 50s, 60s cover band. Music. You know, kind of like, what was the one we saw? Phoenix, I think they were called.
Which was 80s, yeah.
Right. So it was similar to that. They had The Book. They had Showgirls. They had The Effectors 1 on there. So, like, that right there, that's 5 already, that out of a 7-day cruise. So you didn't need the ice show on here.
No.
In my opinion. You know what I mean? But that would be the only thing that I would miss about that, because it's not like we were out there ice skating on those rinks.
No, we did once.
You may have. I didn't ice skate.
I know I planned to. I don't know if I ever got to it. I think I did.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did on the Oasis.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the Wonder. I don't know. They blend together after a while. Which is kind of interesting because this is the first class of ship since the Voyager, which is when the ice rinks debuted, that they haven't put an ice rink in.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I don't see where they could put it. You know, just being on there and then getting the lay of the ship. There's really nowhere they could put it.
Right. Or even necessarily a need for it.
Or need one, right. Because the only place you could put it would be on the C-Plex. And the C-Plex is so humongous, but the C-Plex is like a beast of its own. So you know what I mean? You're not cutting a piece of the C-Plex off just to put a skating rink in there. You know what I mean?
No. Or work the floor so you can manipulate it and make it make it a nice.
Right.
It doesn't sound like it's really even needed for this class of ship, or you're not even really missing it. You said.
No.
So it's definitely not a need.
No.
The C-Plex is also there's a lot of unique things to this ship that you don't find in other class ships, even the Icon ship, which is their best of greatest hits album type of ship.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the stuff that's necessarily found on a Quantum class ship. We just mentioned 270. You have the C-Plex, you have the North Star, you have the iFly. Please tell me you did the iFly.
iFly I did not do. No. It was there. We did not do it. I didn't do it. My daughter, because I asked my daughter, I said, do you want to do this? And she said no. So that was my out. I didn't have to do it. But I did everything on the ship except for the iFly. Or wait, is there a flow ride? I think there's a flow rider. Yes, there's a flow rider on it too. I didn't do that either. I'm too old to be trying to break my back on a wave, an artificial wave.
You do the zip line on the Oasis ship.
That's right.
You won't do the iFly.
No. Something about me, I was just like, I'm not that I'm that heavy of a person, but I'm just like, I didn't want to test.
Go to a giant test tube and be suspended in midair for 3 minutes.
Right. I didn't want to test
or whatever like this.
I didn't want to test the limits of the air pressure of trying to get me up in the air.
Dave's gone vertical again.
Yeah.
What's the giant yellow ball?
The giant yellow ball was
On the
supposed
port side of the ship, there's a giant yellow ball
Yeah,
that
it
just
was
is like
supposed to
hanging
be,
out there.
from what I've read, and I wish I couldn't get any context of why they stopped it. There was some kind of VR
Oh, yes, it was the
gaming thing or
VR.
something in there, and they discontinued it. So now all it is when I was on the ship, it was cornhole. There was cornhole in there.
It was a VR bungee.
Something like that.
You attach yourself to bungee and you would be bouncing around with a VR headset on and you would see all this stuff and you would interact and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of maybe could figure out why. And they added that to a couple of other ships too.
Yeah.
So
It's
the fact that they discontinue, it's kind of, yeah.
But it's funny you asked that question because when we were, I forgot which port we were. I think it was probably Nassau. I'm out on my balcony because the only balconies on this class you can get is the ocean view. So I'm just hanging out, looking around, and like, my kid, she was kind of out there, and then she went back in. Then all I hear is "Hey, hey," and I'm like, "Who's heying me?" I look across and I see this guy going like this on the other ship. And he goes, "What's that ball?" Same thing. What's that yellow ball? And I'm like, "It's a VR thing that they canceled." So I'm screaming across the thing, talking to a guy on a different ship on his balcony. It was funny.
Wait, where was this, Coco?
I think it was in Nassau when we were in the Bahamas. Yeah.
So what ship was this that it was across from you that was so jealous?
I don't remember. It wasn't the Margaritaville. It wasn't that. It was probably one of and it wasn't the Disney Wish. It had to have been one of those celebrity ships. I forget which one was in there. Because when you're in Nassau, dude, there's like 5 ships like lined up.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a whole like bus terminal.
Yeah.
Ships.
It could have been Coco Cay. Coco Cay had what was
Voyager, you said.
Right, there you go. It was that. It might have been the Voyager. It might have been in Coco Cay then when we were getting ready to leave.
I remember when the Voyager was the big ship in town.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, the Odyssey, the funny thing about the Quantum class ships is they debuted after the Oasis, but they are smaller, but not by as much as you think.
Mm-hmm.
To the Oasis class ships.
Well, it's funny, like when you in Nassau, that's where you kind of get the test of how big the ship is, and it competed with the other 5 ships that was in there. It kept up with them. Like it might have been the longest. I'm not saying the biggest, but it might have been the longest ship in there.
Oh yeah, she's 1,139 feet in length. I mean, she's a long girl.
Yeah,
she's got legs.
Yeah. So, but for people that might be thinking about going on this ship, we went actually during spring break week. So going in, I was like, all right, there's going to be a ton of kids on this ship. But what I think helped us was the Seaplex, which we were talking about. Now, for those that don't know, Seaplex is like this big indoor arena. It's kind of shaped in a basketball hoop, like double basketball hoop thing inside, surrounded with a net. They take the nets up, but they leave them on so that, stuff doesn't get in or out of that arena. And they played basketball. They had archery, soccer, badminton. What's the other one that everybody's playing now? Pickleball. Everything and anything was in there, even bumper cars. And the bumper cars were cool. That's fun to go on. We went on it twice because they had a 2-hour window and there wasn't that many people there. So we're like, let's do it.
Keep it going. Keep it coming.
And then they have there's the arcades around it. There's other little games that you can play, tic-tac-toe, not tic-tac-toe, Connect 4. They got like a little thing with all the, you could play. Up top, you got playmakers if you want to drink and watch all the, action going on. But the Seaplex, I think, is where a lot of the younger crowd hung out. That was like their jam to be. So
isn't there at one point, maybe it's not there anymore, one of the little coves off the
is the teen room where
you got the whole video game thing. You got like a whole bunch of Xbox or different video game systems.
Yes, I believe so because I do remember seeing that. Obviously, I'm not going in there, but
Well, you're not playing some of your video games there.
No.
No. Jedi Survivor.
No, but I'm pretty sure that's where they were And that helped because, like, you know, you don't want to, as an older person, if you're worried about going on a ship that you feel like is going to be a ton of kids, it didn't even come. It wasn't a problem for my experience that I had. You know, other people might have different experiences, but they weren't a problem. You didn't have a bunch of unruly kids running around or whatever. They had a place where they could blow off steam and do what they got to do and be kids, you know, while the adults can still be adults in the other parts of the ship. So Cplex was another home run. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of pluses with the Odyssey that it won me over. To be honest, out of the 4 ships we've been on, well, 5, because we went on the Celebrity Summit, which is a different thing. But we kind of put the Odyssey at number 2 in our rankings because we were on the ride home. I asked my daughter, I said, "Where would you put the Odyssey?" She started listening. Like the Wonder was 1, Odyssey was 2. You know, Wonder, Odyssey. I think we put Oasis, Symphony, and then the Summit.
Okay, that's a fair ranking. That's a fair ranking. North Star.
Oh, North Star.
About the North Star.
Yes, North Star is a big arm with a ball, without a better way of explaining it, and it could fit. There was probably like 8 of us in there, so I don't know how many people they try to put in there at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it extends all the way up, and it kind of like branches over to one side of the ship and goes over to the other. So you're kind of like over the, hanging off the ship.
No, thank you.
So what was trippy is we went on it while the ship was moving. So that's what made it a little bit more eerie for us, because as soon as that thing went up, you were getting, not that it was extremely windy, but it was windy.
Right.
So you felt the ball like you're going like this. And my legs were like, they started getting wobbly. And I'm like, no, this is not fun. It's like I grabbed the bar in front of me. But once you got your sea legs in that, it was fun because you got all the way up. You could see the ship from way up high. And then like, you turn this way, you see the ocean. I think if my opinion, if anybody is to do this, it's probably better to do it at one of the ports.
Okay.
Because you'll get a better view. Like, say if that was at Coco Cay, that you could probably get some good shots from Coco Cay up in the North Star. Whereas we did it, we were at sea, you're just looking, oh, water. And it brings you over here, oh, more water.
So from what I've heard, that there's times that they do charge a cover charge to go on it.
Yeah, that's where I paid. It's not crazy expensive, but I did pay just so I know I was getting on it, because I did want to try it. I forget what the rules are. I think in port they could be free, but they'll probably book up like that. You got to make the reservation on the app and whatnot, but they will fill up quickly. So there's no guarantee. The way I looked at it is I did want to get on it, so I was like, I'll pay the money to get on it, because I didn't want to run the risk of it getting on there and booking it and not getting able to book it and miss out. That was fear of missing out, But no, it was worth it. It was just a little. If you're afraid of heights, it may not be your cup of tea.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, you got it.
We'll keep this in mind also for the Skyliner of Doom.
Yes. I'd rather go on a North Star though. I'll take that any day over the Skyliner. Oh boy.
Good to know. Dining room.
Same. Good. Pretty. Elegant. It's a dining room. It looked. Staff really good.
2 decks, right?
2 decks on.
2 open. Yeah, they can open.
Is it 3? I'm trying to think, because it was 3, 4, and 5. So I think it's 3.
Okay, that's probably 3. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that. But I think it's the same thing. 3, 4, and 5, like on most ships. But no, it seems like this one was more. I think we talked about this. It was kind of not that they rush you in or out of the thing, but they make sure they kept it moving.
And that's more of a new standard, I think, fleet-wise, that they're trying to get you guys out, or get the guests out of the dining room faster, or within I believe a 90-minute window.
Mm-hmm. Because they probably want to get the line. Like, there'll be people waiting to get in, so who don't have the assigned time to eat, so they'll be out there waiting. So they want to keep it moving, but they did it in a way where we didn't feel rushed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, which was good. So whatever they're doing, keep what you're doing now. Don't ramp it up more, because then you're going to push that boundary of, hey, relax. Don't be bringing out my my entree when I didn't even finish my appetizer yet.
Right. So, all in all, it sounds like you had a fairly positive. Oh, and the room. How was the room?
The room, the only issue for me would be the bathroom, because I'm a larger size guy, and it was just a smidge smaller than the Oasis class ship bathrooms. So I don't know if that makes any sense. The balcony was a nice size balcony. The room we could get around. We didn't feel cramped or anything like that. But the positioning of, I'm not going into too much detail, but just the arrangement of where the shower, toilet, and sink were. If you're a larger size individual, I'm not saying I'm 350 pounds, but if you are, you may have an issue like doing stuff in there. So,
so you're saying that the bathroom is a cozy cruise ship type of bathroom?
Yeah. It's tight.
Okay.
So, but no, I had no issues with the room. The hallway layout, the hallway layouts, smooth, easy to find the numbers and stuff. Everything's laid out nice. The elevators are the only issue, but the elevators seem to be the issues on every class of ship.
That's just, cruise ships in general. Yeah.
Right. The one thing that we have found out, as I don't want to call it seasoned cruisers now, but we're experienced, I would say, is that sometimes in peak operations, where people are trying to get to their rooms and stuff, it's best to go up to go down. If you're trying to go down, it's sometimes just hop on an elevator, go up, and
wherever the elevator takes you.
Right. Because that will cut your wait time down. Because there was times where, it's a small complaint. There's times when you're waiting a good 5 to 10 minutes to actually get on one, because a one will pop up and then there's 15 people in there. You're like, I'm not getting on that one. Then you got to wait for the next one. And then there's another 15 people on there and you're like, oh boy. So, but no, the theater, the Royal Theater, nice size theater, all the main shows are in there, like you would expect. In and out, plenty. All right. So on this one, you didn't have to book a lot of for the Royal Theater. You didn't have to book any of the shows like we've done in previous sailings. My advice would be to get there 20 to 30 minutes early, so that you can get a good seat where you want to sit. We didn't miss anything. We weren't sitting in nosebleeds or anything like that, because we got there in that window. You can probably get there 15 minutes early if you want. You know what I'm saying? But because you don't have a reservation to get in there, if you definitely want to get in and see that show, because they're only going to play it. The book is the exception. They played it on multiple nights because that's their big one. But, Showgirls, I think, was only 7 and 9. And if you missed that, you missed it.
Too bad. Yep.
So, yeah, but I would say to butt his own 20 to 30 minutes. Cruise. Yeah, exactly. 20, 30 minutes, get in there, chill out, do whatever you got to do. Show comes on. So we had no issues with the shows. The shows were, what you would expect from Royal Caribbean. They were good. I didn't have any issues, So, yeah, overall, awesome experience.
Awesome. So you would, it sounds like you'd recommend this ship.
Yeah, I would. I don't know if I'd go smaller. Like, what's the next? I don't know, whatever class is smaller than this, but
nowadays it would be Freedom class.
I mean, I would have to do some research on them, see where they're going, see where they're coming out of, see what the layout is.
But yeah, there's only 3 Freedom class ships. There's the Freedom, the Liberty, and the Independence. Liberty has been stationed in Bayonne for quite some time, and she's been generally doing Bermuda.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So she'll go to Bermuda. We took her to Bermuda, and I think she does some the occasional other ones as well. One of my coworkers is actually taking her this summer on the itinerary that you just did, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, no, she was supposed to go down to Haiti. So it might have been I think it was maybe it's the 9-night that we did that the Liberty is doing. But either way,
and we finally found the famed mozzarella sticks in Coco Cay. They were at the Snack Shack.
Mazel Yes.
We were like
the Snack Shack in Chill Island,
right.
backside of the island by the volleyball courts.
We actually went the long way around to find it because there's another, I forgot what it was called, but there's another section where you can get your food and stuff like that. But we're like, there's no mozzarella sticks there. So where the heck is the other thing? And then we saw Snack Shack. We're like, it's got to be there. But how do we get there? And we went, it was literally probably 5 minutes from where we were. And we went all the way around. But we found them and they were very good. So
they were worth the journey.
They were worth the journey, but for next time, at least I know where they are, so I can just beeline straight to them.
Yeah. Size order of ships. So you have the Vision class, followed by the Radiance, the Voyager, Freedom, Quantum, Oasis, Icon. From smallest to biggest.
Yeah, so Freedom might be an option, but if just to explore different, because you can get into, okay, like been there, done that kind of. That's where I got with the Oasis, like the Oasis class ships. Like I love them, they're great ships, but it's like, all right, I want to try something different, and I'm glad we did to get on a different ship, a different layout. You know what I'm saying? Like experience what else they have to offer, and it was a pleasant surprise. So
that's good.
Yeah, the only thing they did change if you're going out of Bayonne and you're parking in their lot. In the like if you live in New Jersey or whatever, New York, and you're driving down there and you stay in the lot, they changed the way you pay for the parking. So now it's all on your phone. They give you a little card with a QR code, and you have to scan that, get on the website, you fill out all your information. You got to put a credit card on and whatever. And then what happens is when you leave, somehow it notifies the app that you're leaving. And then they'll charge you for how many days you were there. So it knows when you pulled in because you type in when you're there, and then it'll know when you leave. So for us, it was $30 a day. We were there 7 days, $210 for parking. So, okay. But there's no more like what was it, like a kiosk or something like that? You had to pay
there was something.
Yeah, that's done now. They don't do that.
All right.
It makes leaving a little bit easier. You know what I mean? But there's still 4,000 people trying to get off the ship at one time. You know what I mean? So
in one parking space, yes.
Yes. Exactly.
All right, that's good advice. That's good to know.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else, Odyssey or
no
Caribbean wise?
No, I mean we got the Icon I have the Icon coming up in August. I'm looking forward to that one because that's, for me, that was the bucket list thing, and then I could take a break from cruising for a little bit because my wallet's getting a little small. But we'll do a review on that one too when I get back if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but no, highly recommend the Odyssey. I don't think you have to break the bank to go on one of them because we certainly didn't, because it was, again, during spring break, and usually they know that it's spring break and jack the prices up on stuff. So.
Yeah, she replaces in Bayonne, New Jersey, the Anthem, which was specifically made for the Bayonne port. Mm-hmm. And she's been there for decades, for quite some time. Now they brought in the Odyssey. She was just spent a stint over in Alaska, and now she's heading over to Europe, I believe. So she gets around. Mm-hmm. She gets around, but it sounds like a very good ship, a very good, nice. Unique class of ship for a Royal Caribbean ship.
Yeah.
But not an unwelcome difference.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's like I said, it's a welcome change, welcome difference,
Good.
Because it keeps that, if you are a continual person to go, like, if you're Diamond, and you went on a million cruises.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It keeps the freshness about, because you can sit there and go, okay, I want to go on all the ships in the Oasis class. Okay, fine. That's one thing, but you've
three away.
You're 3 away from all of them. Yeah.
So are you?
So am I too. Yeah. Was it Allure, Harmony, and what's the other one we didn't go on? Utopia. That's right. Yeah. But so you can sit there and go, I want to go on all the. It's fine, but for me, I needed something different to break. Because it's like, I don't know, it just, that third time on the Symphony, there's no knock on the Symphony. Symphony was awesome. But it's just like, all right.
Something different.
It felt like it was like the home away from home, and it's like, okay, I need a different home.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I've done that because I've done multiple Voyager ships,
Mhm.
and it's just like they're nice and you appreciate them, but you want to
Yeah.
experience something different. Which one from Voyager to the Radiance, and I really like the Radiance, so
Yeah.
then I went back to a Voyager class ship,
Yeah.
and then the Freedom class. Anyway,
Right.
but yes, so yeah. So have you been on this is to the listeners and the people watching? Um, been on a quantum class ship? What did you think, or have you been specifically on the Odyssey? Let us know. Put in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe to these videos, and share out. Let people know that you're watching them, or that they're out there, or these are out there. And Dave, thank you for letting us
Mhm.
know and sharing your vacation.
Thank you for having me again.